The School of Hard Knocks 23 took place at the Subway Soccer Centre in Calgary. Professional and amateur fighters from across Canada battled it out in the Hard Knocks cage.
To the School of Hard Knocks.
This School of Hard Knocks fight is an amateur bout at a catch weight of 190 pounds and is brought to you by Cruz Custom Homes. And now, let's meet the fighters. He's coming to you out of Medicine Hat. This is Kevin Legacy.
So Kevin Legacy comes to us out of Medicine Hat, INC Kickboxing and Team Extreme, 2-1 as an amateur, and says that he needed to focus on his cardio in this camp because the last time he fought it went to the third round and he got pretty gassed out.
Yeah, the energy system on a fighter is very important, and it's like nothing else when you get out there. Combat sports in general, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, it's not like running. It's not like sprinting. Actually, that's probably the best way. Imagine sprinting for 3 straight minutes. That's what it's like fighting, because you're always having to have your muscles engaged. You can't loosen up. You have to be always holding your abs tight. You're holding your hands up, so your muscles are tense for 3 straight minutes. And do that 3 times, and with only a minute and a half in between. I can think of very few athletes. You look at a football play, an average football play is like 9 seconds, if that, and that's what they get. And so you can understand why he's focusing on his cardio.
And in talking to Kevin, this a short notice fight. Zach Manywounds had a different opponent lined up, and 10 days ago that opponent suffered an injury, and Kevin Legacy jumped at the chance to be in our amateur main event and take on Zach Manywounds. And he thinks that Zach is a very talented fighter, a very aggressive fighter, but says that he may not have seen a fighter that is as aggressive in response as Kevin plans to be.
Well, and you look at Zach Manywounds from Dynamic MMA. We talked about the strength of that, and we're going to see Zach come out as soon as Jaden Nance brings us.
And his opponent. He's coming to you out of Calgary and the Tsuut'ina Nation. This is Zach Manywounds.
A lot of vocal crowd support for Zach Manywounds fighting out of Dynamic MMA. 1-1 was unable to continue in his last fight because he got a thumb in the eye, and it left him blind on the left side. The doctors stopped the fight because he was unable to see out of that one eye. So Zach having to suffer a bit of a setback there, and he says that's been good for him.
Well, and it can frustrate certain fighters when you lose to an illegal blow. Was it a purposeful illegal blow? Absolutely not. But it was an illegal blow because you're not allowed to hit somebody in the eyes, and it can affect the psyche of a fighter. But Zach Manywounds takes it with the right attitude. It happens. This is an amateur. The record doesn't matter if you end up going as a pro. It disappears. In fact, if you end up going 5-0 as a pro and you have 17 losses as an amateur, they don't care. They're actually going to say it's a funnier story because you're coming with so many losses. But Manywounds is a great fighter. Having to switch his game plan to change to Kevin Legacy, who is a bit of a different fighter than Zach's original opponent.
Well, and it's interesting in talking to Zach because he said that, yes, he expects to represent his community, a very proud member of the Tsuut'ina Nation here, which is just outside of Calgary, but also says that he's not just representing the Tsuut'ina Nation. He's representing Calgary, he's representing Alberta, he's representing Canada, he's representing everybody in his community as a fighter, and he wants to put on a show to make all of those people proud of him, and said that after he lost his last fight, it was very overwhelming to him. He had lost some family members before the fight and had a lot of adrenaline going into that fight, so to have that fight stop in that manner was very tough for Zach, and he's looking to get back on track tonight against a very game opponent in Kevin Legacy.
And we're going to go to Jaden Nance, who's in the center of the cage for our official introduction.
And now, the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the Rig Pig Apparel blue corner, he's 2-1 as an amateur, 20 years old, and stands 5 feet, 8 inches tall. He weighed in at 191 pounds, fighting out of INC Kickboxing and Team Extreme from Medicine Hat. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Kevin Legacy! In the Flamins Fitness red corner, he's 1-1 as an amateur, 24 years old, and stands 6 feet, 3 inches tall. He weighed in at 186.5 pounds, fighting out of Dynamic MMA from Calgary. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Zach the Last Warrior Maniwu! This bout will be contested under amateur rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Brian Beauchamp.
Brian Beauchamp in charge of the action in the center of the cage. As both fighters come out, many wounds in the white trunks, Legacy in the black trunks. And both these fighters a tentative start, as both a lot of respect going both ways here for the skill of their opponent.
Yeah, different builds on these two guys too. You look at Many Wounds, more of a tall, athletic overall build, and you look at Legacy, more of compact, but a lot of power in there. When you're about 5 foot, when you're about 5'10" and 190 pounds, that's a big difference than 6'3" and 190 pounds.
Couple jabs, couple tentative leg kicks, a slow start to this amateur main event. Just 3 3-minute rounds here in the amateur ranks. We'll get up to 5-minute rounds in our next fight.
Trying to find his range is Zach Many Wounds.
Getting a lot of advice from the crowd as
smart
Zach
crowd.
brings a lot of fans with him. And it's funny, very humble about it too. When I asked him yesterday if he expects to see a lot of fans, he said he wasn't sure if anybody was coming to watch him at all.
Good takedown there by Legacy, being able to hold his opponent up against the cage and then get into a good solid position, getting side control and dropping big elbows onto the thigh of Zach Many Wounds, trying to take away that base.
And when you've got arms the size of Kevin Legacy and that elbow comes down, it's gonna hurt you.
Well, now in a mount position, dropping to the back of the shoulders. Again, in an amateur fight in the Calgary rules, you can't strike a downed opponent to the head. So you look at amateurs will try and put some power into body shots, and it gives them the opportunity to stay low when they get in a mount position. Oftentimes, when you get to a high mount position in being able to strike the head, you're able to get bucked off, and that's what the opponent can do. In this position, staying nice and low, it's very hard to get out of a mount, as we're seeing with Zach Many Wounds right now.
Legacy continuing to work from up top. That was a big knee into the midsection of Many Wounds. 45 seconds remaining here in round number 1, and Kevin Legacy doing a very good job of keeping Zach Many Wounds down on the ground.
Yeah, if you watch the legs of Zach Many Wounds, when he's trying to get off his back here, he needs to put his feet back on the mat. He has somewhere to push off of, as you see him pushing off the cage. He tried to just shift his weight, and that's not good when you have somebody that's so solidly built as Kevin Legacy. It's not spread out, so he needs to keep his feet on the mat and push in that same situation.
Big fist dropping from Kevin Legacy. Again, on top of Zach Manywounds here in our amateur main event with just 10 seconds to go in round number 1. Legacy looks like he will end this in the dominant position and certainly take round 1 on the judges' scorecards from Zach Manywounds.
A good first round by Legacy. And he didn't necessarily use a lot of energy in that round. Once he got the takedown, he wasn't panicked, but he continued to power down and be effective striking on top.
A good job so far by Kevin Legacy. Again, a short notice fight. This fight agreed to just 10 days ago, and both these fighters, again, having to shift their game plan. The plan for Zach Manywounds, I believe he was fighting not necessarily a different body type than we see in Kevin Legacy, who's very compact, and when he gets on top, like he will here in the takedown, when he gets on top of Zach Manywounds here, Manywounds not with that much bulk in the upper body of Kevin Legacy makes him harder to move once he's on top.
Yeah, and he's also in good position, sitting on the hips. So sitting on the there's two center balances on a human body: the hips and the shoulders. More shoulders than hips on men. But you sit on those hips and take them away, and that's how you're going to be able to remain on top in a dominant position. And good for Kevin Legacy. Again, not expending a lot of energy. He did mention that cardio was an issue for him. Good round for him. It's a good round when you don't expend a lot of energy and yet you still win.
So a solid round for Kevin Legacy. Zach Manywounds will have to change that around. Can't afford to spend the rest of the time on the bottom if you want to win a fight here in the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship. And Legacy and Manywounds now up against one another in round number 2 here in our amateur main event. Pro fights are next here at the Hard Knocks Fighting School of Hard Knocks 23, live from the Subway Soccer Center.
I was just about to say it surprises me with Zach having such a forward position that Legacy isn't attacking that leg, and just as I was thinking it, there's a big kick and there's another one there. A big forward position, stepping in on a double and a nice takedown again, timing the double with the kick and ending in a good position in the guard now of Zach Manywounds.
Legacy again on top of Manywounds and will continue to throw down punches. And again, no strikes to the head of a downed opponent here under the Calgary Combative Commission rules, but certainly strikes to the body, and Kevin Legacy has been doing that and more here in the first 2 rounds whenever he's gotten on top.
Yeah, and again, a good pass by Kevin Legacy, and not expending a lot of energy and still being effective. A little bit of cage walking going on by Manywounds, but again, he's got such a bulk to be able to get off. It's very difficult, and a great knee there right to the side of Manywounds.
Yeah, that knee landed hard. Manywounds trying to scramble back to the guard, but Legacy doing a good job on the ground of holding his opponent where he wants him, controlling the cage, keeping his opponent on the ground where he can't use his reach advantage as an advantage.
Yeah, this is a classic wrestling hold, being able to hold a guy in a head and arm and hold him on his back. Being able to hold the other center of gravity is the shoulders. Now getting to the mount, and again, he's got that low mount, and it's very hard to get somebody off of a low mount. The reason that you don't see a low mount in the UFC is because they're striking to the head. Here in amateur, in Calgary, you can't strike to the head, so one is sit right down and land blows to the body, just as Legacy is doing here.
Again, Legacy doing an excellent job of controlling his opponent, effectively riding Zach Manywounds around the cage as Manywounds tries to find an opening. Does manage to pull him down temporarily, but not for long. Back to the mount goes Legacy, and again, dropping punches on Zach Manywounds in the midsection and ribs area. And unlike earlier fights where we said the punches weren't going to do much damage, when Kevin Legacy hits you, he hits you for real, and and he's doing exactly that to Zach Manywounds here.
Yeah, we've got a table that is actually touching the cage, and every time the Kevin Legacy drops one of those big shots, the cage shakes and the table shakes just a tiny little bit. And currently we're about 15 feet away from the action.
So again, continuing the ground dominance at the end of round number 2 is Kevin Legacy, and Zach Manywounds is going to have to win this fight in the third if he wants to have a chance at having his hand raised.
Yeah, and Manywounds is going to have to come out really aggressive, and he's going to have to use the range. He's going to have to use the range and try and catch Kevin Legacy out of position. The problem is Kevin Legacy's got a really good chin on him, so it's tough for him to be able to think that he's going to win this one. But stranger things have happened. Again, everybody's got an off button somewhere on their chin. Great takedown here.
Yeah, an excellent takedown. Just bull rush right through Zach Manywounds. Grabbed the one leg, and Manywounds could only hop backwards for so long on the other one before going to the ground. And after that, it was all Legacy as he continued his ground dominance here through round number 2. And will likely, Jeremy, look to do the same in round number 3.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if you've got a guy on his back, he's very unlikely to be able to knock you out, which is, I think, the only way, other than a submission, that Zach Manywounds would be able to win this fight, as the first 2 rounds definitely do go to Kevin Legacy, at least on my scorecard. And if you look at Legacy, though, when we looked at the takedown, the only thing, and nitpicking again, that I would like to see from Legacy is being able to clear those legs in midair and then land in side control. He landed in the guard, and both times he ended up a takedown, and against a guy who's a jiu-jitsu practitioner, that can be dangerous. So just swinging those legs out, ending in side control.
Brian Beauchamp ready, and so are our fighters for the third and final round here in our amateur main event. And Legacy comes out with a leg kick after a couple testing jabs from Zach Manywounds.
And now using his striking.
Kick to the midsection. That one hurt him, though. You could see his face when Legacy landed the kick. Manywounds winced. And Legacy trying to get inside the reach, and just, again, the bull rush forward, the drive to the cage to put him up against it. And now he'll be trying, he's got a single leg, will look for the takedown here, but Manywounds trying the guillotine choke. He may have an arm-in choke here up against the cage with Legacy holding on. This height advantage from Zach Manywounds may come into play as he goes down to the ground. Again, the guillotine choke still a possibility here for Zach Manywounds, but now he's let it go, and Legacy's on top, and this has not turned out well so far for Zach Manywounds.
Well, there's a couple options there for Legacy to get out of that. The first one is he hips in and he picks up Manywounds right up in the air. With the amount of pressure that Manywounds was doing, that would have alleviated pressure. The other way, get to the side, take away the pressure of the choke, and end up on top, just like he's done here.
Again, more punches to the midsection, and now elbows to the midsection. A minute and a half left, and if Kevin Legacy can duplicate his success from the earlier 2 rounds, he'll be sure to have his hand raised at the end of this one.
And back immediately to that low mount position, and I wouldn't be surprised if he just stays here, good solid position, not giving up any opportunity for a submission, and looking to push his victories to 3, and 3-1 his record. But again, lots of time left in this fight for Manywounds. 1 minute 4 seconds on our feature fight clocks that you see on the right hand side of your screen.
Kevin Legacy continuing to dominate on top, and Zach Manywounds starting to feel the pain of those punches. His face now starting to exhibit the damage that's getting done, and starting to wince a little bit. Kevin Legacy doing yeoman work on top of Zach Manywounds, just throwing down punches into the midsection. Again, no strikes to the head of a downed opponent, or one has to think, Jeremy, that this fight might have been over a long time ago.
Yeah, in this position, but again, if he takes a different position higher up, that maybe that gives Manywounds an opportunity to get free. But as it is now, just a dominant performance here by Kevin Legacy.
So Legacy uses his wrestling to his advantage here as he continues to work ground and pound on Zach Manywounds, as he has for the better part of 9 minutes. And with just a few seconds remaining here, Legacy putting the finishing touches on a likely victory.
And an appreciative cry from the crowd here, and a great show of respect there from Zach Manywounds.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you visit Paradise Canyon Vacations on the upper level to plan your next special vacation.
So again, we go to the judges' scorecards as the official gets that together. Again, you can follow the Hard Knocks Fighting Championship at HK Fighting on Twitter. Go to www.hardknocksfighting.com. Of course, you can follow Ryan and myself at Podcaster Ryan is he on Twitter, and I am at Real Ginger Ninja. Again, Jeremy Ballantyne, Ryan Ballantyne calling the action here. We're waiting for the judges' scorecards. A dominant performance here by Kevin Legacy, taking his opponent down and getting to a solid position where Zach Manywounds didn't really have an opportunity to mount any offense. And a good job by Legacy identifying that cardio was one of his issues and pushing forward. Again, we are going to the judges' scorecards. Mine, I've got it 3 rounds to 0, but you never know. Here's another replay on our feature fights replay. And again, good, solid position by Legacy here on the low guard. Manywounds not really able to get off his back here, and not really trying any submissions, as Manywounds more of a stand-up fighter. We are going to go to Jaden Ants, who's in the center of the cage with our official decision.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have the official decision brought to you by Cruz Custom Home. The winner by unanimous decision in the blue corner, Kevin Legacy.
So Legacy pushes his record to 3-1 as an amateur, and he's going to be with Ryan.
Kevin, I'll get you here in the center of the cage. Yeah, you can. Well, I'll get you to turn around here, face the camera with me. Not a bad performance from you tonight. A lot of time on the ground, but you really seem to work your wrestling.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable on the ground, that's for sure. There's no strikes to the face, which is kind of my deal, but I got the body pretty good, so I'm happy.
Now, coming in against a fighter with a significant height advantage over you, was the game plan to just take him to the ground where that doesn't matter?
Yeah, well, I wasn't afraid to strike with him, but I seen the opportunity, so I took it right away.
Now, we got a replay up here. You're working the ground game, trying to get as many strikes to the body as you can. Was that, how did that feel going for 3 full rounds, getting that takedown?
Oh, I could have went 3 more rounds. Feel good.
You talked about your cardio last night, not an issue tonight at all?
Not at all, not even a little bit.
I'm sure you got coaches, sponsors to thank?
Yeah, I like Team Extreme, INC Kickboxing. All the guys from the club helped me lots. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for your winner, Kevin Legacy.
To find out more about Hard Knocks Fighting and upcoming Hard Knocks events, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, this School of Hard Knocks fight is a professional bout in a catch weight of 210 pounds and is brought to you by Urban Mobility. And now, let's meet the fighters. He's fighting out of Lethbridge. This is Will Hatch.
William Hatch comes down to the cage out of the Progressive Fighting Academy in Lethbridge. 1-1 as a pro. Won his first fight by a 47-second in the first round technical knockout. And you may recognize the name of his opponent in his second fight and his loss on his record, Dan Severn. And if that name doesn't ring any bells, go back and watch some early UFC events when the Beast was running wild.
Or just pick a different sport. Really, if you don't know who Dan Severn is, you're new to the sport. So let's educate you. Dan Severn was UFC for the first couple years. He won UFC 2 or 3 or one of the 2 there, and lost
4.
I'm sure you're right. And he lost to Hoist Gracie in the very first final of UFC 1 after a 30-minute fight of laying on top of Hoist Gracie. Hoist Gracie tapping him out with unknown martial art at that time, with jiu-jitsu. Yeah, and unfortunately fortunately for the sport, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is a avid part of this sport, and we get to see that beautiful, beautiful martial art. But yes, William Hatch losing to Dan Severn, and if I'm going to have a loss on my record, I'm okay with it being that one.
Yeah, if the only time you've ever lost in the cage is to Dan Severn, then that's something to hang your hat on. Now, admittedly, only 2 pro fights to this point, was booking his own fights, and now with PFA on Lethbridge.
And his opponent, he's fighting out of Fort St. John's. He is Corey Knight.
Corey Knight comes to the cage out of Dragon MMA in Fort St. John, BC. And it's been about a year since we've seen Corey in the Hard Knocks cage. He had a couple injuries that cost him some fights, and then he was working through the winter as a result of his job and was unable to compete. It came out of the winter, and then he had a rupture in his ear that prevented him from training for a couple weeks. Was expected to be out for a couple of months. The doctors thought he healed faster than expected, so he gets back in the cage tonight and looking to stay undefeated as he comes in at 1-0.
Yeah, and Corey Knight, he had an interesting introduction to a pro fight. A very quick knockout in his first fight, and he's got some power to me. He was mentioning to me earlier today that he hopes that this fight lasts longer than 12 seconds.
Yes, a very quick knockout for Corey Knight in his pro debut. He says it's interesting having to fight in the cage because, of course, you don't know about what your opponent's capable of, and as a result, he's going to have to learn on the fly and figure this out because not much tape available on William Hatch, and so unable to step out and really get that in there. But Corey Knight is certainly game to step in the cage. And to talk about both our fighters, here's Jay Denance.
And now, the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the Rig Pig Apparel blue corner, he's 1-1 as a professional, 28 years old, and stands 6 feet 3 inches tall. And weighed in at 211 pounds, fighting out of Progressive Fighting Academy from Lethbridge. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Will Hatch! And in the Flamins Fitness red corner, he's 1-0 as a professional, 28 years old, and stands 6 feet 1 inches tall. And weighed in at 209 pounds, fighting out of Dragon MMA from Fort St. John's. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Corey the Machine Knight! This bout will be contested under professional rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Brian Beauchamp.
Hey gentlemen, we went over the rules in the back room. I want a clean, fair fight. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands at all times. Let's touch gloves and make it official.
So Corey Knight in the red corner, William Hatch in the blue corner. And Hatch and Knight about to get ready. One of these gentlemen will leave with their second pro victory. And Corey Knight comes out with a spinning kick to start round number 1. Hatch sidesteps that quite quickly. A lot of head movement from Corey Knight, and a big right hand. He's swinging with everything he's got, trying to end this early, and now takes down, and this is where the pro rules will come into effect. Full ground and pound strikes to the head allowed under the pro rules, and Corey Knight, I'm certain, will be trying to get some of those as he's on top of William Hatch.
Yeah, he told me he wanted his fight to last longer than 12 seconds, and he didn't look like it when he was doing it there. He's rocking some huge shots going on there, some big connection, and credit to William Hatch because he took a ton of big shots. Nice takedown there on the throw, and now he's trying to progress forward to be able to land some of these headshots here.
A big punch landed there with the right hand of Corey Knight. You could hear it throughout the arena as Hatch's head bounced off the canvas. and Knipe doing a good job of working the posture up position here, landing strikes. He's got to be careful he doesn't get an arm caught and find himself in an arm bar situation, but doing a good job thus far of staying in the mount, but doing a lot of damage to William Hatch.
Well, you can see the blood coming from the left eye of William Hatch now, and obviously on one of those big shots that connected. Might have been that last one. And I mentioned before the shaking. Yeah, that shook. That shook the whole table on that last ground hit, and you could see the eye swelling up, that left eye of William Hatch.
Corey Knipe on top of William Hatch, continuing to land strikes from the postured up position. Standing up so he can really kind of let gravity help him out on the way down, and that's a big cut under the eye of William Hatch.
But again, under the eye, so as long as Hatch can hold on, it's not going to be any danger of stopping unless it gets bigger than it is. And almost a sweep there by Hatch, and now he's got an arm in, but Knipe wanting nothing to do with that.
Corey doing a good job on top so far. Another right hand lands to that cut area. Blood now also coming from the nose of William Hatch, as Corey Knipe has done some significant damage here in the early going of round number 1.
And again, we are 5 rounds under the unified rules of pro MMA. Sorry, 3 rounds of 5 minutes. Just a long day, long day.
Knipe working his way into side control halfway through now round number 1. And Knipe maybe looking, thought he might have been able to pull an arm out there for a submission, but choosing to strike instead. Got to be careful with those punches to the back of the head. So far so good though, but a couple of them did look like they were getting close to that back of the head area.
Yeah, and the referee right on top of the action, so he would definitely stop it if he sees that. And here's a danger here of a sweep, but dropping the knee and taking away that ability to sweep down and come across. You see William Hatch working his right arm in and now trying for an armbar again. Maybe Hatch knowing that and pushing away is Hatch now. And I don't know where Corey Knipe is doing it, whether he wants to let him up here or whether he wants to come and drop a big bomb on him. But some curious action here by Corey Knipe.
Well, it looked for a second like he was going to back up and let him up, and then once William Hatch tried to get up, then Corey Knipe jumped in again, maybe trying to catch him unawares. But again, landing big strikes down on the head of Hatch is Corey Knipe doing an excellent job thus far of working his ground and pound.
Lots of blood coming out of William Hatch's eye and nose now. He's taken some big shots here, and he keeps coming. So we'll see Corey Knipe's career, and the referee's going to call him standing. Corey Knipe's career, he's never gone this long, so we'll see how his cardio holds up.
Well, it's interesting, too, in talking to Hatch last night at the weigh-ins, he said, I want to stand and bang with the guy. People didn't work all week to pay $50 to watch 2 men hug in the center of the cage. So we'll see if he gets a throw in here, but it was a good takedown from Corey Knipe that landed him almost 4 minutes of dominance in round 1.
Yeah, and after taking a few beats, and here's some return from William Hatch and wanting nothing to do with that as Corey Knipe. Good head movement there, and then able to counter as he goes down to 15 seconds in the round.
So a dominant round 1, but Hatch coming back and swinging for everything it's worth because he knows that every punch counts as this fight gets older.
And that's the end of the first round. I think we got to give that one to Knipe. As you look at the face of William Hatch, I'm sure that is the primary indicator of how that first round went.
Yeah, so far Corey Knipe doing a good job of staying on top and working that dominant position and really and working the ground and pound very effectively here in round number 1. And dropping the punches to the head. And like I said, at one point, there was no space between Hatch's head and the mat, and Knipe just laid an absolute bomb. And not sure if this is the one that I'm talking about, but an absolute hammer dropped from Corey Knipe in several occasions as he continues to work on top. There, the elbow across the face, and kind of grinding it down on the face, but several punches landed from the top by Corey Knipe.
Yeah, dominant round, but William Hatch has been here before, fought against a UFC legend, and we'll see how the second round comes. That's one round to Corey Knight. Now let's see if he can translate that into a second round dominance as well.
Tentative jab, leg kick answered with a flurry of punches. Pretty good sized mouse under the eye of Hatch from that cut.
Good leg kick there by Hatch.
Both fighters a little less eager to jump into the fray as they were in the end of the first round, and that could be it. A big punch from Corey Knight takes down William Hatch, and Corey Knight is on top of the cage and very excited about picking up his second pro victory.
Yeah, that's a shot and a half, and I think he gives Jaden Nance a punch. I'm surprised Jaden dropped.
Last call for 50-50. Make sure you get your 50-50 tickets. Proceeds help Calgary Heat Wrestling Society send their athletes overseas for competitions.
I didn't realize how awesome you were until I actually...
And a visit from Andre Stereotario that we're going to see later. Here's a replay, and there's the big shot. And out is William Hatch, but it looked like he was about to return to defend, and Corey Knight just wanted to make sure that the referee knew. Huge, big shots, and unfortunately, we didn't get a camera on Corey Knight punching Jaden Nance in the face. Perhaps one of these days I can relive that in my memory, but Corey Knight is the winner, pushes his record to 2-0, 2 big knockouts, and again, we go to the feature fights replay, and that's a big shot, and this is like 5 or 6, this is a crime. And it looks like the official decision is in. We are gonna go to Jaden Nance, who has the official decision in the center of the cage.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the official decision brought to you by Urban Mobility. The winner by TKO at 36 seconds in the second round, in the red corner, Corey the Machine Knight!
Corey Knight letting us know who was the victor. He's going to be with Ryan in the center of the cage. Again, 2-0 as a pro.
Corey, I'll get you here, center of the cage. Corey, last time we saw you, it was a little quicker. The results the same. How did it feel getting into a second round?
Shitty.
Now, you told me just a second ago that if that hadn't ended the fight, you gave it everything you had in that last flurry there.
Yeah. I can't even talk, and I'm always talking, so it means I'm tired.
Well, I'll ask you to talk for just a little bit and walk us through the finish of the fight.
Seeking knockout. From the first second to the last. He was good. He was strong. I didn't expect that to fucking finish him, though. I must have caught him pretty good. And I love jumping on the cage.
Now, when you saw him go down there, you swarmed him pretty quick. Were you pretty sure the fight was over at that point?
No, I just keep going until I'm getting ripped off. That's just what I do.
Now, I'm sure you got some sponsors to thank, some coaches.
Yeah, I thank everyone that helped me spar. Red Dragon, all the boys that live in my basement, and, everyone that came out to see me. I can barely raise my arms, but thank you all.
All right, let's hear it one more time for your winner, ladies and gentlemen, Corey Knight.
more about Hard Knocks Fighting and upcoming Hard Knocks events, please visit hardknocksfighting.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, this School of Hard Knocks Fight is a professional bout in the 145-pound division and is brought to you by Scott Safety. And now, let's meet the fighters.
Well, we've waited 6 weeks for this fight, and finally, we're going to get to see Jesse Beltry take on Wolfgang Jansen. And we saw this fight lined up for Hard Knocks 22, and then 5 minutes before that fight was to happen, Jesse Beltry flew out, had his knee buckle on him backstage, was unable to continue, was unable to fight that night, and so we've had to wait 6 weeks now to see this fight, and it should be a good one as Jesse Beltry comes out of Team Brennan MMA and 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu against a well-known Jiu-Jitsu fighter in Wolfgang Jansen.
And Jesse Beltry is actually a Canadian Army veteran. He did represent our country in Afghanistan, serve our country in Afghanistan.
Retired Wednesday.
Retired Wednesday.
Retires Wednesday, a very recent retiree, and we cannot thank Jesse enough for his service.
And you look at Jesse Beltry, 1-3 as a pro, but a lot of his fights against tough opponents, and he mentioned that he learned everything. He learned things from every one of those fights. And that's one of the more important things, is that for every loss that you take, you have to learn something from that.
Now, Jesse, an interesting thing too, in talking to him last night, he said it's a different mindset when you step into the cage. He said for all the time he spent in the military and all the time he spent in Afghanistan, the idea was that someone was trying to kill him. And that, knowing that he's facing off against someone who's just trying to make him tap the mat a couple times, is a significant difference, and he feels a significant advantage for him because he's been in a far more stressful situation than an MMA fight.
Well, and an MMA fight, again, it's like nothing else, but nothing compared to what battle would be like.
And his opponent. Fighting out of Red Deer, this is Wolfgang Jansen.
Now Wolfgang Jansen comes to the cage. He spent 6 months in Brazil honing his craft and really getting ready to move forward as a pro, fighting out of Arashino in Red Deer, but really worked on his jiu-jitsu, really worked on his craft, and there's almost no, as much as Chael Sonnen would have you believe that Brazil doesn't matter, those truly in the MMA world, Brazil a serious place to go and train.
Well, and it's a tough place. We mentioned before that a lot of fights that used to happen in Brazil were in parking lots. They're in parkades. I think there's a whole YouTube channel devoted to Brazilian fights in parkades. So those guys are tough. And you look at a lot of the great fighters to ever come in through the UFC have been Brazilian fighters. Anderson Silva is pound for pound listed as the best fighter in the world. Hasn't even come close to losing in the last 5 years.
Wow.
And
Chael Sonnen would disagree, but
he was on some extra help for that.
Yes, but training in Brazil, training at CM System, which is the 3rd largest gym in Brazil. One of the reputation, Wolfgang was 5-2 as an amateur, does come into this fight 1-0, and fought, for my money, what is the best fight in Hard Knocks fighting history, which is Jesse Arnett versus Wolfgang Jansen. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. Back and forth, both fighters with a lot of chances to finish the fight. And before Wolfgang pulled off a rolling triangle from the top, an unbelievable finish. Never mind the fact that he trained in Brazil. He also trained at TriStar, George St. Pierre's gym in Montreal. He's trained. This is a guy that is looking towards an MMA career, and just 19 years old, and really a wealth of experience already under his belt. This now the 9th time he's stepping into the cage.
And it looks like we're ready for the official announcement of this fight. We're going to go to Jaden Nance, who's in the center of the cage.
And now, the official Hard Knocks fighter introductions. In the Rig Pig Apparel blue corner, he's 1-3 as a professional, 30 years old, stands 5 feet, 7 inches tall, and weighed in at 143.5 pounds, fighting out of Team Garanon and 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu from Brandon, Manitoba. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Jesse Viper Veltri. And in the Flamins Fitness red corner, he's 1-0 as a professional, 29 years old, and stands 5 feet, 6 inches tall. He weighed in at 148.5 pounds, fighting out of Irashito Red Deer. Please welcome Hard Knocks fighter, Wolfgang Jansen. This bout will be contested under professional rules. The referee in charge of the Hard Knocks action is Mr. Len Coivisto.
Good evening, gentlemen. This is a professional contest. Respect the rules, follow my instructions, and above all else, you must actively protect yourself at all times. You want to touch gloves? Do it now. Go ready to fight at the bell. Good luck to both of you.
10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu is under Eddie Bravo, who will be in town soon for a seminar. We ran an ad for that earlier in Okotoks. You can certainly check that out. But 10th Planet, a well-known jiu-jitsu gym, and recently moved up his jiu-jitsu ranking to 2nd in the province of Manitoba. So if this goes to the ground, it could be a good one.
Yeah, and Jesse Veltri coming forward very hard in the beginning. But going in for a single leg, and Wolfgang Jansen has got that arm deep, and this fight is over. This fight's over.
Just that quick, Wolfgang Jansen grabs the back of Jesse Veltri and moves to 2-0 with a nice choke, a rear naked choke for the win. Wolfgang Jansen is well on his way.
Yeah, and what ended up happening is he turned the corner there, and Veltri left his neck up, and as soon as that happened, that arm went in deep, and he was not letting go. Great catch there by Wolfgang Jansen, and we watch the replay here. So he comes in on a single leg, and he's got the arm in. He's fighting hard. Good takedown defense. He's got the crossface, and watch as he slips that arm right underneath.
Paradise Canyon Vacation sponsor group is located on the 2nd level. Make sure you visit them before you plan your next big vacation. And all those ballots you've been filling out tonight, we are going to draw the winner of the vacation just before the final fight.
And of course, the end of the replay there, you see that he gets under and does get that rear naked choke, and of course was successful. Tough thing here for Wolfgang Jansen. He did come in a little overweight, so he will sacrifice some of his purse to Jesse Veltri. But here we have the official decision in the cage.
We have the official decision brought to you by Scott Safety. The winner by tap out due to rear naked choke at 23 seconds in the very first round, in the red corner, Wolfgang Jansen.
So Wolfgang Jansen pushing his pro record to 2-0 with a good victory over Jesse Veltri. He hates Jesse's, apparently. He's with Ryan.
We'll get you here in the center of the cage. A pretty quick fight, something you're starting to make a habit of.
Yeah, you know, I put a lot of hours in the gym, and I got a great team, team of Rashido, baby, in Red Deer. So we train hard, and every time I come in here, I'm always looking for the finish right away, you know, and that's how it went.
So now we're watching the finish here. When he went for the takedown, you kind of scrambled onto his back, were able to find the rear naked choke. Walk us through the thought process there.
Yeah, you know, I was really calm, and I was like, okay, I wanted to stand up and trade, but he came out fast, and he shot a crappy single, and I just stuffed it and just kind of worked my way around nice and slowly, and the pop went in.
So now not much damage taken in this fight, obviously. Does that mean we'll see you back in the Hard Knocks cage pretty quick?
Oh, absolutely. I'm always ready to fight. I always love to fight. It's the best experience in the world being in here. I love it.
And I'm sure you got some coaches, sponsors to thank?
Oh yeah, I got sponsors back home. Thank you very much for all the help you've done for me. And we're going to keep going up from here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for your winner, Wolfgang Jansen.